Hello internet friends, welcome back once again and thanks for joining me today. I do have a pretty specific topic that I want to get into that's kind of been on my mind this week and as I've been going through these training sessions. So let's get right into it. I've had people before comment and bring up the idea that a lot of the philosophical beliefs that I tend to hold seem to be very in line with Stoicism, or the idea that you let go of the things that you can't control and don't let them shift you emotionally. And I'd say that's pretty close to how I try to handle a lot of the situations in my life. Um, and I think it's also very important to exercise humility in your approach for most things. I think that there are going to be a great deal of times, a very large recurring number of events that are going to happen in your life that you don't have complete and total control for. And while it can be beneficial to embrace some of the frustration that some of these events might induce, and to give yourself a little bit more motivation and some drive to move forward and focus more heavily on the things that you can control, it's also important to accept that even if even if you are doing your absolute best at something, even if you're giving your best effort in the pursuit, there are occasionally times when that's just not enough to get the result that you're hoping for. And those are the times that can become a real challenge to a person. Those are the times where it's really testing your emotional capacity and your ability to deal with situations. It's not necessarily when, it's one thing if you're not doing everything that you can uh, by a wide margin and things aren't shaping up the way that you'd kind of hope they would do, because all the time you could point and say, well, this is why, this is what I could do to improve that. And sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes you look and say, well, what could I have done differently to change this? And there's not a whole lot in those instances that you could have done. But don't let that invalidate the pursuit. Don't let that make you say, well, what's the point of even doing this? Because there is still probably something that you can find in that experience that you could in some way improve. And that really relates to how I was feeling this week. And you're going to see it in a deadlift coming up here. I have been having some issues with my sleep schedule, and it's been an incredibly frustrating experience. I've been experimenting with different ways to try and get more sleep, but basically, over the course of this last week, it's been really bad, where I've only been able to get 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, and they haven't been quality hours of sleep. I've been waking up with a couple of issues. Like, pretty much my entire household is having some sort of reaction to something, and it's affecting us all a little bit differently, but it's really been affecting me heavily, and I'm trying to make the most of it. But on this day, we decided that I was going to try for a 740, and I was having some real issues with my right hip, and it was, honestly, I just have not recovered enough from the other sessions where this was even really going to happen. You see right there, both my hips cramped, and it pushes me forward and out of position, and it was a really pretty painful in the lift, and I was initially pretty disappointed because of how well everything's been going. I thought that maybe that was a reflection on something. I don't know. I just had an emotional response to this circumstance. But then I looked at it a little bit more objectively and said, well, what did you really expect when you got 4 hours of sleep and you had, like, clearly there was something going on going into the session. My hip was incredibly tight, and I mobilized it for about 3.5 hours beforehand, trying to get it to behave itself. But I can even see it in all the lighter weights that I did, where my hips were just not in the same position that I'm normally able to get to. And sometimes it just takes time that you don't have to fix that issue. For me, I just think I needed rest. I took some Benadryl and some stuff to get some more restful sleep last night, and it helped a bit. I did get a little bit more sleep, and when I woke up, most of the hip issues that I was experiencing yesterday had already cleared up, so that's a good positive sign. Maybe that's something that I can carry through. There's an example of something that I can do to sort of fight back against the circumstance, but you can't you can't go forward with this arrogance that all of a sudden you have complete and total control over every single circumstance. Sometimes you have to just deal with your circumstance and accept the consequences of whatever is happening, and say, okay, that doesn't mean that all the work I've done is invalidated. That doesn't mean that I totally messed everything up and I should quit or I should give up. You take what you can from the experience. You try to change or improve the things that you can change or improve, and the rest of it you have to learn to let that go, to work past it, and to keep going. Because if you really care about something, you owe it to yourself to not quit, give up, or become so distracted by a disappointing experience that you let it rob you of the positivity that you can have from that pursuit that you care about. So thank you guys for watching. A couple quick updates. The programming, the guided programming that I'm still doing with Garrett and Brandon, I'm going to link that down in the description to anybody who's interested in getting in on that. We're starting in March, I believe. Other than that, check some links in the description for some Strength Crew apparel if you're interested in any of that stuff, and check out the social media links when you get a chance if you feel so inclined. So once again, thanks for joining, and I will talk to you very soon. Have a great day. Bye.